Welcome to Tansson TV Plus. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Mom.
Thank you so much for joining us. We have yet another series premiere for this 2024-2025 television season. We have a lot of premieres.
We sure did.
Yeah, and Mom, which one is this one?
Today we're going to be talking about Papa's house.
Yes, there's a new series on the CBS network. We're very excited to speak about this, and Mom, you can go ahead and get started with speaking of this pilot episode from October 21st, 2024.
All right, I'll just give a brief synopsis of what happened on this episode. Damon, who's one of the main characters, is a radio announcer whose radio show is going down in ratings, and so he's kind of given a new co-host or slash podcaster to help him build the ratings back up. Now that is just one part of the series. We have another part of the series also that's happening. Damon's son Junior wants to explore a new career, and he wants to explore new career options, I should say. But he needs to actually remain employed by his father-in-law. And so these are the two, based upon the two episodes that we've seen, even though we're just talking about the first one, um, these are the two themes that we've picked up so far.
Well, Mom, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and so first of all, what were your thoughts of this first episode here?
All right, Brandon, I kind of had a couple of conflicting thoughts. The first time I watched it, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this. And then I watched it again, and I did like it. So I'm confused. But I will say, it was enjoyable to watch the second time I watched it. Um, I, I think it has some promise if you could stick with it. And so I think it's one of those shows, if the writers will just kind of allow the show to be and they kind of stick with it and keep it on real topics, I think the show might be okay. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I likewise have some similar thoughts. I feel like the show has a lot of promise to it. It maybe wasn't the most enjoyable first viewing, but second time around, and now of course since two episodes have come out now, I'm able to get more of a feel for the characters, and that there's already a character I really enjoy.
Mhm. And who do you enjoy, Brandon?
Yeah, so I really enjoy the character of Dr. Ivy Reed, which is Papa's new co-host.
Oh, yes. Yes. And she's familiar for us because she's played in what brand?
So we are familiar with her in two different ways. So we first saw her in Smart Guy as Yvette, and then we saw her appear decades later on Are We There Yet as Suzanne Kingston Persons.
Yes, we did. And so she does bring a little bit of, I don't want to say sunshine because that's not the right word, but she does put a new spin on the radio show, which is called Papa's House. I believe it's called Papa's House, the radio show that he has. And so she is the new person who's been brought in to kind of help boost the ratings.
Yeah, and what's interesting about it too is that we find out that she's also a longtime fan of Papa and wants and intentionally one for this job to be able to help him out and to not let him. I suppose as he sort of nears the retirement since he's a bit older, she don't want him to end out in the same way that he's been going. That she wants him to be returned back to his former glory.
Yes, yes, she does. She does say that in the second episode.
Yeah, and even a bit in the first episode as well is that she sort of wants a like a new life for his show, and I kind of like the dynamics that both of them have, sort of like the love hate relationship, so to speak, and I wonder if that will continue.
Yeah, they do have a really nice relation. Well, I don't know if really nice. The banter is really nice between both of them, so that kind of makes the show fun to watch. But I also like some of the banter between Papa and his son because that's an interesting dynamic to watch. Also,
Yeah, and not just that. Not only are they playing, father and son, but they actually are father and son too.
yes, they are. I told you when I was watching it, and I wasn't quite sure. I took one look and said, "That is his son." And Damon Wayans is who we're referring to as the main character. And so, And so when I looked, I said, "That's his son. I'm pretty sure it is." And we were very right.
Yeah, and so I'm excited to see. Hopefully, as the series progresses, that we're able to see, more and more of the both of them together. And I mean, we this is actually the second, child son show that we're watching in the TV season.
Oh, yeah, tell us who the other one is, Brandon.
Yeah, so the other one is Lopez versus Lopez that we're also watching with George and Mine Lopez.
Oh yes, the father daughter. Yes, very true, very true.
Yeah, and I like that, for this one that, you know, that we're able to see sort of a different take on this a little bit and the different parallels of how Papa is in a job he really loves, but things are changing. Whereas Damon, I guess, Jr., he's in a job that he can't stand, but he has to go back to.
Yeah, and that's a good perspective. I didn't even think about it like that, Brandon. So that is a really nice perspective.
Yeah, and were there any thoughts that you had that were not answered in this episode?
Yeah, where are the children? They have referred to having children in both episodes. They, meaning Junior, along with his wife Nina, they have talked about having children, but we have not seen any children at all.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm very curious as to, where they are in this context. We've seen them what seems like midday and later in the evenings, where I presume the children would be there.
Yeah, and the mom implies that the children are younger, and so, but the children are never there. Meaning, like the mom will be at Damon's house, Papa's house rather, and she doesn't even mention that the children are home alone or anything. They're not mentioned at all.
Yeah, so I am a little curious about that. And within the first episode, we got a little bit exploration in the second one, even though that's not what we're speaking right now, just the pilot. But when we saw Papa and Damon together for the first time, I don't think there was really explanation as to why his son was there. It's just that he just appears. Um, yeah,
No, no, I was just going to agree with you. Yes, he does just appear. There's not really an initiating event per se. It eventually becomes because of the radio station, but to me, that was kind of secondary and everything.
yeah. So I was a little confused by that because I don't know if to me everything didn't feel properly introduced as we usually see in a pilot.
Yeah, and it took a while before they actually mentioned names. So you were left to wonder, like, who are these people? We could tell they're father and son, but that was about it.
Yeah, and maybe that is actually what threw us off a bit, in our first viewing, is that we weren't really introduced to the plot. We didn't really see what the initiating event was. I mean, again, we saw the secondary one towards you know, uh, towards the middle of the episode with Dr. Ivy Reed, but I think that was more of a secondary one, like you were saying, and not really a primary one, since the focus is on the father-son relationship.
Yep, and the other thing that I thought was kind of confusing was they mentioned the job that the junior had, but the way they described it was to me was very confusing.
Yeah, because he was speaking about his dream to be a producer or director, but also with the that he was working for his father-in-law, doing I think their phone business. But then he said he had a business deal, but I don't know for which job the business deal was for.
Yeah, you sure it wasn't a foam, like FOAM?
Yeah, that's what I meant, phone.
Oh, okay, all right. Sounded like you said phone.
But even though he's in the phone business, yeah, with his father-in-law, I wasn't sure as to which business deal he was or was not in. To get fired.
Yeah, it really was. When you watch it the first time, it is kind of confusing in regards to what is he doing, what does he want to do, and why does he want to do it. So that was confusing altogether. Like I said, it took the second viewing before we were able to kind of realize that it really was a foam FOAM business that the father-in-law was doing and what he was kind of helping to whatever he does.
Yeah, I will say though that uh, for us having seen the second episode that released, this past week, I think that actually provides some context that we needed to watch the first episode again. But I think that's the thing about these pilot episodes too, is that because they usually are produced well, yeah, in advance, is that they are just sort of a testing ground, that they're not necessarily perfect and some things might be changed later.
Yeah, and then with the first episode, they have a lot to unpack in that first episode, and so they just can't get to everything.
But yeah, but I think the show has a lot of promise, and I'm excited to see what the season has to hold.
Actually, I look forward to watching it also, Brandon.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've been doing, of course, for each of these premieres is speaking about what would we want to see in the rest of the season. So, what would you want to see in the rest of the season, or even series if it continues further?
Well, first of all, I'd like to see some children. Just because we're talking about these children, it'd be nice to see these children. Surely these children have relationships with their grandfather. I don't know. We haven't seen them yet. So I'd like to see that, and I'd like to. What I also thought was interesting, they did show the father-in-law in, I believe, the first episode, and I liked the banter that actually all of them had. And then we find out later that the father-in-law and Damon's father are old friends. So I'd like to see that explored a little bit also. Apparently, they got along at one time and now they don't really get along as well. But I, I liked, I actually liked that dynamic. And so I'd like to see them kind of emphasize that a little bit more and to talk about the relationship that they have.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I really did enjoy, yeah, the father-in-law's presence, and the different demeanors that they have. Whereas Papa, uh, where it seems that both Papa and the father-in-law both have sort of different prestiges in the sense that Papa is a popular radio host, and yeah, the father-in-law is very rich from his foam empire. Um, that that it's funny because it seems like they don't like how each other have spent their time and spent their money, and have serious disagreements about that. But what I find interesting about that though is I wonder if they're going to potentially, let's say, explore him for two, like you said. But it makes me wonder if everyone, like you said, is over there, then where are these children?
I know. I know. So we'll have to see how it goes, Brandon.
Yeah, and for me, just to add, I would like to see what happens with Nina's character a little bit. Yeah, I definitely spoke about how much I really like Dr. Reed's character, but for Nina, I want to see what she has in store. Because I feel like she could potentially add a different level to just this relationship that we have.
Yeah, I think she can also. I think she can also.
But yeah, I guess we'll just have to tune in and keep tuning in. Oh yeah, and so for our final question too is that will we continue watching the series?
Yes, I'll continue watching it.
Yeah, likewise. Like we mentioned before, we have seen episode 2, and so we're excited for episode 3 to come out just soon.
Yep, we sure are. And we'll be interested to know if you're interested in. Oh, let us know. Do you like the series? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, definitely do so. We love seeing your comments, and Mom, I always love doing this with you.
Same here, Brandon. All right, everybody. Have a great day.
We'll see you next time.
All right, bye bye, everybody.